Not long after, a man reportedly turned up near Hanson's Hotel in Albury carrying
Really?
multiple knives on
What?
the eve of the Farah by-election that
What?
One Nation went on to win.
I didn't hear about that. Someone rocked up to Pauline Hanson's hotel room with multiple knives.
James Ashby, Pauline Hanson's chief of staff, she was grabbed by a man, physically spun around and punched. One of the women in the group spat on her.
What fucking man grabs a grandma, punches her and throws her to the ground and breaks her ribs? G'day everyone, thank you for tuning into this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment to help boost the message, and join to be a member if you want to show some extra support. It means the world to me. I'm fully supported by my community, by you, so I can stay unbiased and give my true uncensored opinion. So thank you all so much for your support. Let's get back to the video. Oceania Unfiltered, Marine Frug incites One Nation hate. Then the worst happens. Let's have a look at this.
About something that happened in Brisbane that's been rattling around in my head because I reckon it tells you more about where things are headed politically in Australia.
Oh no, this is probably about the One Nation volunteer or worker that got attacked and broken ribs. An elderly lady for wearing a One Nation shirt. I'm guessing that's what this is about. And also, one just got arrested in Perth, I've seen today, for trying to kill Pauline Hanson or sending threats to her. The typical left. We don't agree with you, so we'll try kill you. It's the left wing. Seems to be, doesn't it? All over the world we see it.
Australia than almost anything else going on right now. Fair warning, I've got a clear view on this and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. This isn't a both sides breakdown. This is me calling it how I see it.
Yep.
Before we get into it, if this one gets you thinking, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and throw it to someone who needs to hear it.
Simmering political tensions have erupted into violence on the streets of Brisbane, with a One Nation staff member and two men bashed in separate attacks.
And two men. What?
Right, so here's what happened. A woman in her 60s, a grandmother by all accounts, was working a One Nation stall at the Ekka in Brisbane. The Ekka, for anyone who doesn't know, is a massive annual show, families everywhere, show bags, Dagwood dogs, the whole thing. Completely ordinary public event. This woman was wearing branded One Nation gear, staffing the party stall, doing the utterly unremarkable democratic work of supporting a legal political party. And she ended up in hospital with a broken rib. According to James Ashby, Pauline Hanson's chief of staff, she was grabbed by a man, physically spun around and punched. One of the women in the group spat on her.
What fucking man grabs a grandma, punches her and throws her to the ground and breaks her ribs? Like, what a complete disgrace are these left-wing radicals. Like, how the hell is this happening in our country where these absolute radical left-wing freaks are getting supported and pumped up by these socialist groups, including the Greens, to do this type of shit? It's absolutely crazy. They are supporting all these protests. Look what's happening at these protests. Indoctrinating the youth, teaching them to be violent, teaching them to be fascists. Because they don't know what fascism is. They call One Nation the fascists because they're winning through democracy. Yet they're using political violence to try and shut down One Nation. That's fascism. Go back to school and fucking learn what it is. Now there's grown men throwing grandmas to the floor and breaking their ribs for wearing One Nation shirts. This is Australia now. This isn't America. This is Australia.
She was verbally abused, and then, and this detail genuinely gets under my skin, she had to undress in front of police officers so they could photograph the extent of her injuries. That's not a minor altercation. That's not a heated exchange that got a bit out of hand. That is a coordinated group assault on a woman whose only provocation was wearing a party shirt at a public event.
Views are one thing, but
I haven't heard any arrests yet either. Thank you, Australia. Yeah, I haven't heard much about this, and that shows where the mainstream media is.
having a physical violence like this is just not acceptable. Jason Matthews in 4BC Breakfast has broke this amazing story of an older lady dressed in a Pauline Hanson support shirt was alleged to have been assaulted on the way into the Ekka. We've called the police with the allegation that we have broadcast this morning based on the information we received, that interview with James Ashby. And this is the problem we have in Queensland, where this is an adult crime. The allegation suggests it's an adult crime where somebody's been assaulted assaulted in a public place simply because of the clothes they choose to wear. If they were wearing, say, religious garb and were attacked, they would be rightly condemned.
100%.
Very bad four-letter words were offered. But the fact this lady has ended up, it is alleged, with a broken rib is just not right. The views are one thing, but having a physical violence like this is just not acceptable. And I hope the kids get the full consequence of their alleged action.
Now, the timing. This alleged attack
I
happened
bet you they're not. I bet you they're on bail. I bet you they're not even in jail.
on either the 13th or 14th of August. There's a one-day discrepancy between what One Nation has said and what Queensland Police recorded, and that detail is worth noting rather than glossing over. But either way, it falls on or directly adjacent to the same day that Senator Marine Faruqi, alongside various hard-left organisations, including Socialist Alternative, ran national anti-Hanson protests across 8 cities.
Why are the Greens manipulating children in schools and doing protests against another political party trying to silence them? Like, how the hell is this happening in our country where there's another political party ramping up radicals to stop another political party? When does it become fashion? And then she's suing Pauline Hanson. She's suing One Nation, Pauline Hanson. When does, like, it become real fascism? When there's other parties in charge having mass gangs of people trying to stop other parties? Come on.
Students were actively encouraged to walk out of school. Rallies were held in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and elsewhere, and footage from those events showed people screaming explicit calls for political violence. Not implied, not ambiguous, on camera, in public, at organised political events.
Where's the hate speech laws? They apparently don't apply to left-wing people against One Nation. They seem to be able to scream they want to kill them, One Nation. Not much happens.
I'm at the students' protest against Pauline Hanson. Let's hear what they have to say.
Oh, why'd he blur it? I got plenty of videos up of this unblurred on my channel.
I'm not. I would fucking actually too. I would. Feel the fuck up.
That literally makes it's like demons. It's worse. Australia, thank you so much for becoming a member, mate. Welcome to the Dark Forces. I leave all the streams off for members. You're a legend. Thank you for the support, mate.
Queensland Police have stated that no formal complaint had been
I
made.
love Asian Unfiltered. He's so monotone. So just seeing that, then he's like, anyway, they're all demons. They've been indoctrinated.
At the time of reporting, and they haven't drawn any direct line between the protest movement and the assault at the Ekka. That's important to acknowledge. Nobody has been charged and the causal connection isn't established. But you'd have to be working pretty hard to not notice the timing, and you'd have to be working even harder to explain why it's barely registered in the mainstream conversation.
Exactly. Why is this not in the mainstream? I first heard about it from my live stream, people commenting it. You think it would be all over the mainstream? Radicals attacking another political party, breaking their ribs, innocent bloody grandmas, and attacking other people. You think if that happened to a Greens or a Labor worker, it would be everywhere in the news. Look at these right-wing radicals attacking Labor and the Greens. Oh wait, but the right-wing don't do that. The left-wing go to violence, the peaceful left. But it's not in the news much, barely any. Fucking wild. Should be Australia-wide news. Should be massive. Should be talked about non-stop. But it doesn't.
Because here's what's a bit sus about the whole thing. If the political colours here were flipped, if a left-wing party worker had been punched and spat on at a public stall,
just like I said,
while conservative-aligned protests were happening across the country with footage of people yelling about wanting to kill the party's leader, the media response would be immediate, loud, and sustained.
I bet you they'll be arresting all the protesters as well.
Politicians would be called to condemn it within the hour. There'd be long opinion pieces about the state of political violence and the dangers of inflammatory rhetoric. Sky News, the ABC, every outlet would be running the story hard.
Oh, yeah.
The silence around this case, by comparison, is deafening. And that silence isn't neutral. Silence in the face of a pattern is itself
Thank
a
you,
position.
JJ.
Because this isn't a standalone incident dropped into an otherwise calm environment, that's the part people need to understand. This is one data point in a pattern that has been building for months. When One Nation tried to hold a campaign launch at the Tower Hotel in Hawthorne earlier this year, Victoria Police deployed Public Order Response, the riot squad, along with mounted police, just so Pauline Hanson could walk through the front door of a pub. Think about that for a second.
Who's the fascists? The left or the right? You have an event for your party and you need riot squad police to stop your opposition supporters coming in to kill you. Who's the fascists? Left or the right? One needs riot squad police to stop them, one doesn't. Just saying.
Riot police to enter a hotel. Around 100 protesters turned up, some masked, and about a dozen got through the police line to confront supporters queuing outside. At a separate One Nation fundraising dinner in Melbourne, footage showed masked demonstrators outside holding a banner that read, "Death to One Nation."
How can they even have that with the, like, it's not disagreeing with the party. They're calling for death. They're calling for political violence. Like, come on.
Police arrested and removed one person. The restaurant that had originally booked the event cancelled on the same day, citing the safety of their community.
And that's so sad. They look, death to One Nation. Two-tier policing, exactly. The restaurant probably scared for their own staff. And that's what these radicals want. Look, a Palestine scarf. The Palestine scarf always there. All roads lead to Palestine. The exact same protesters every fucking time against Australian culture, against Western culture. That's all they fucking are. Radical reject freaks that no one likes. But Labor and the Greens will weaponise them for their movement.
At the Melbourne student strike on the 13th of August, a protester physically grabbed the microphone from News 24 journalist Georgie Dickerson during a live
Tea
cross
Towel.
and bolted. There were no police in the shot. Private security working for Rebel News chased the person down and recovered the equipment. That's the situation on the ground. James Ashby had flagged this trajectory months before the Eka. Back in May, he wrote to a federal cabinet minister.
Yeah, there they are. The peaceful left. Attacking women reporters. There they are. That's Australia now. The peaceful left. That's it right there. Those kids in the background looking, that's who you're supporting.
Warning explicitly that it only takes one...
Your super chat ain't working, but it probably doesn't like something you're saying. It's very sensitive sometimes.
An unstable person to seriously harm...
Yeah, she chased him down as well. She is a fucking tough reporter. She chased him down. Lucky Avi's bodyguards grabbed him.
Hanson, and pushed for her Australian...
What is a woman?
Federal police protection to be upgraded. Not long after, a man reportedly turned up near Hanson's Hotel in Albury carrying multiple knives on the eve of the Farah by-election that One Nation went on to win.
I didn't hear about that. Someone rocked up to Pauline Hanson's hotel room with multiple knives?
Her daughter Lee, who is a Senate candidate in her own right, has since gone public about the threats, saying they now extend to 3 generations of the family. That she and her own children have received death threats, and that she has formally asked the Albanese government to strengthen her mother's protection. And then you've got 2 female...
Abbo ain't going to help. Abbo don't help. Abbo, when are you going to give me security? Well, my death threats.
Female One Nation candidates for the Victorian state election in November who have reportedly withdrawn from the race because they don't feel safe standing. Not because they
That's
changed
shocking.
their minds politically, because they made a rational calculation that the personal risk to themselves and their families wasn't worth it.
And the sad thing is that's what the left-wing radicals want. They want you to be scared. They want you to withdraw and be silenced. And they'll use violence to get it. But we're not fucking being quiet anymore. We are not staying silent. We're only speaking up. The more they try to use violence to silence us, the more we will fight back. Australians are tough. We're not going to be silenced by these communist, socialist fucking radicals that only care about overseas, not Australia. No way that is happening in Australia. We are fighting and we are not going to stop fighting.
That last part deserves to sit with you for a moment because it doesn't get nearly enough attention. When people withdraw from democratic participation because they're frightened of physical harm, that's not a footnote. That is a direct assault on the integrity of the democratic process.
And that's what they want. That's what they want. That's fascism. That's what they want.
It doesn't matter whether you agree with One Nation's policies
That's
or
right,
not,
Zoe.
and plenty of reasonable people don't. The moment political intimidation successfully removes candidates from an election, something has broken. And if that's happening and the response from the political mainstream is a shrug, then the people shrugging have made a very clear statement about whose democratic participation they actually value.
Because the Labor and the Greens love it. They love that these radicals are silencing One Nation. That's what they want. They want people to be scared, in my opinion.
The rhetorical framework being applied here is, frankly, all over the shop. There has been a sustained and legitimate public conversation in Australia over the past several years about the responsibility that public figures bear for the behaviour their words can inspire. That's a reasonable conversation to have, but it only ever seems to travel in one direction. When the alleged harm flows toward people on the left, the chain of responsibility is drawn quickly and without hesitation. The politician who used...
Thank you, Australia. You're a legend, mate.
Heated language, the commentator who ran the segment, the platform that allowed the post. The accountability framework is deployed at full speed. When the alleged harm flows the other way, that same framework quietly disappears.
The two-tier system. It's been happening for a long time.
Faruqi led national protests against a specific political party.
How can another party use protesters to try and silence another party? Isn't that fascism? Can she piss off back to Pakistan? Like, go away. Leave Australians alone. No one likes you. No one likes you. The uni kids will get a job and wake up and not like you anymore.
On the same day, one of that party's workers ended up hospitalised.
Did a silent comment.
That does not make her legally responsible for what happened at the Ekka. Let's be precise about that.
No, I don't think she's legally responsible. But we have to look at what's going on when there's political parties like the Greens pushing for these protests to go ahead and going there and supporting them. When there's people calling to kill another political party. And they're not... It's not like they're on the stand saying, we need to stop One Nation through democracy. Let's not use violence. Please stop the hate speech and causing physical violence on another party. We can't do that. We need to do this through democracy. That's not what Faruqi's saying. That's not what she's saying at all. She might be a Sith Lord. Just saying. Heard there was a Jabba the Hutt once.
But the question of what senior political figures contribute to the temperature of public discourse and what responsibility comes attached to a Senate platform is one that should be asked consistently, regardless of which party is on the receiving end. The fact that it isn't is not a minor inconsistency. It's a structural bias in how political accountability gets applied in Australia, and it has real consequences.
There we go. Thank you so much, Oceana Unfiltered, for exposing the violence against One Nation. Make sure you check out his channel. I just can't get over the Greens supporting these radical protests for violence against another party. That's fascism, yet they call them the fascists, and they indoctrinate the children. They used to just do university students. Now they're also doing high school. That's how radical this movement is getting, and it needs to stop.